Hi, welcome back to another Mental Health Moments. I'm Dr. Kim Eckert, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about a concept that has been really helpful for me in my own work with clients in my office, with my kids, with myself, and it is a concept that was introduced by Dan Siegel, who's a neuroscientist who has written lots of books about parenting and other topics. One of my favorite books that he has is called The Whole Brain Child. He writes a lot about understanding the brain in practical ways that can impact how we then live and regulate our emotions and solve problems. And this concept is called the window of tolerance. And so I'd like to share a little bit about this with you, and hopefully it can provide some help or resource for you this week. So this is an idea that we all have a window of tolerance, and that means kind of arousal or energy level. And it's a window, and so that window, this can be the window, that window can be open or closed. It can be wide or it can be narrow. And in therapy, one of the things that I hope to do is help people expand or open that window of tolerance. I hope for that with myself, with my kids. And that window of tolerance is tolerance to be able to engage with the world as it is. Outside of the window of tolerance, there are two options. So on the upper end of the window of tolerance is hyperarousal. You think about this, if we go over the window of tolerance, this is, if you think about the survival instincts of like fight, flight, freeze, this is the fight or flight response, really. It's the high energy. This might be central nervous system, very aroused. So racing heart, panic, difficulty with focus and concentration, ready to run, go, where you're super angry or super activated, where it's hard to stay in the moment and be rational and clear and logical and consider all the different options. When we talk about getting triggered, often this is what people mean, that they get triggered and they're kind of outside the window of tolerance. They're up above it. They're so angry or they're so anxious or they're so whatever. The emotions are really big. On the other side, or on the bottom of the window of tolerance, is hypoarousal. And this is where this is under aroused. You might think about in a fight, flight, freeze response. This is the freeze or collapse response. So this is the capacity to kind of play dead, the survival instinct to curl up in a ball and to just do nothing, to survive by being small and not moving, a kind of hibernation. And so this response is when we're under aroused. So just excessive fatigue, problems again with concentrations, but foggy, having trouble thinking, wanting to sleep all the time, having trouble moving. And both of those are indicators that we're not able to stay in the moment. And so the middle, this is the window. So this is the window of tolerance. Sometimes Siegel, when he introduces this or explains this to kids, he uses a color code. So he talks about the hyperarousal as the red zone, the hypoarousal down here is the blue zone, and this window of tolerance as the green zone. And so talking with kids about trying to stay in the green. And of course, we're gonna have times where we're gonna be maybe on the edge, or we're gonna go outside of the window of tolerance. And when that happens, we want to find ways to come back within. And this is having a language for this can also help us recognize what's happening in our bodies and kind of naming like, okay, this is what's happening. So before I try to solve whatever the problem is, you have a argument with your child or a coworker, or something happens at work, if you can pause for a moment and notice, okay, I'm either right on the edge of that window of tolerance or I've gone up above, before you proceed to try to resolve or deal with the situation at hand, the best thing to do before you kind of engage in that is to check your own body and self and mind to kind of come back, bring yourself back in to that green zone, into that window of tolerance where you're not overactivated, but you're also not under, to come back into that middle space. And you can also think about different sorts of techniques or toolbox things, as you put different strategies or healthy coping skills, those are all really things that help you come back into that green zone, into the window of tolerance. So things like going for a walk, or maybe taking a shower, doing yoga, making a cup of tea, those and taking your time, doing a mindfulness meditation, doing some breathing techniques. Those are all different activities that can help regulate your body, regulate your nervous system, and bring you back into that green zone. And you might notice with that those are all bodily activities too. Those are things you do with physical movement, which is a great plan. So when you notice yourself outside the window of tolerance, either up here or down here, rather than trying to like talk yourself into having more energy or calming down, it's better to actually do what needs to be done with your body. So if your body needs to slow down because you're way up here, instead of yelling at yourself to slow down, you could take 30 seconds to move in slow motion where your body is physically moving and then giving that message. The body gives that message back to the brain to kind of slow down. And the same thing on the other. If you're under the window of tolerance, versus instead of kind of yelling at yourself or chastising yourself, like get up, get going, you've got to move, doing maybe just 10 seconds, but doing physical movement. So doing a couple of jumping jacks or getting in a cold shower, something that has a strong physical bodily aspect, are some practical ways that you can move yourself inside that window of tolerance. So I hope that is helpful, and I will look forward to talking with you again.